Welcome to the channel where stories come alive and the unexpected is just one click away. Today's tale will have you holding your breath and questioning how far is too far when chasing fame. But before we dive in, drop a comment below and let us know, where in the world are you watching from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because tomorrow's story, it's one you won't want to miss. Now, get ready. This one's intense. What really happens when you touch a royal guard? Brandon Miles wasn't your average 24-year-old. Hailing from the quiet suburbs of Denver, Colorado, he had a talent for turning heads and a habit of turning trouble into content. From a young age, Brandon loved to perform. In elementary school, he was the kid balancing pencils on his nose during math class or pulling harmless pranks on the lunch lady just to get a laugh. But as he grew older and the internet exploded with opportunity, that innocent mischief evolved into something more: a brand. With a smartphone in one hand and a GoPro in the other, Brandon carved out his own niche online, pranking authority figures. Security guards at malls, lifeguards at beaches, even cops directing traffic, no one was off limits. He'd dance behind them, stage fake fainting spells, or ask ridiculous questions in the middle of their duties. The videos blew up. Millions watched. Sponsors came calling. In just 2 years, he went from a kid filming in parking lots to a full-blown online personality. But with success came boredom. The tricks that once brought him joy now felt stale. The reactions? Predictable. Brandon wanted something bigger, something that would stamp his name in viral history. Then, one night while scrolling through his feed, he landed on a clip of the Royal Guards in London, stoic, silent, and unmoved, no matter the chaos around them. Tourists screamed, jumped, even mocked them. Nothing. Not a twitch. Brandon was mesmerized. These weren't just guards, they were living statues, legends of discipline. That was it. The idea that would become his next mission. What if he could be the one to break them? To get even the smallest reaction from the most unshakable force in public service? It would be the ultimate challenge, the one no prankster had pulled off. Brandon saw it not just as content, but as conquest. He started planning immediately, researching the guards, the protocols, even the layout of Buckingham Palace. He wasn't flying in blind, he was strategizing, every step mapped, every move calculated. This wasn't just another prank. This was history waiting to be rewritten. And Brandon Miles was determined to be the one holding the pen. Brandon didn't waste a single day after discovering the Royal Guards. The moment he saw that viral video of them standing stiff as stone, immune to chaos, he knew he had found his next target. This wasn't about laughs anymore. It was about legacy. If he could make one of these iron-willed soldiers flinch even for a second, it would be the crown jewel of his prankster career. The internet wouldn't just watch it. They'd remember it. So he got to work. For 3 straight weeks, Brandon dove deep into research mode. He binge-watched every clip of failed attempts, read blogs from tourists, and even joined Reddit threads filled with speculation on what might crack a guard's composure. He took notes. He built a plan. He even tracked when the changing of the guard took place, where the most foot traffic happened, and which guard posts seemed less guarded by surveillance. By the time he boarded his flight to London, he had everything mapped out. He wasn't going alone, of course. Josh, his best friend and camera guy, was flying with him, gear packed in a weatherproof case. Mia, his cousin and sound tech, was already waiting in London, ready to scout the scene. They were his team, his crew, and they understood the assignment: stay hidden, stay rolling, and capture everything. As the plane touched down, Brandon could feel the adrenaline pulsing in his chest. This wasn't just a stunt, it was a mission. He walked through the gates of Buckingham Palace like a general approaching a battlefield. Tourists were everywhere, laughing, waving flags, snapping selfies. But Brandon wasn't sightseeing. He was studying, calculating every move. When he finally spotted the target, a guard in full crimson uniform and towering bearskin hat, Brandon knew this was it. His heart pounded, his hands tingled. This was the moment all the planning had led to. The camera rolled, the mic was hot, and Brandon Miles took his first step toward what would either become his greatest moment or the biggest mistake of his life. Brandon stood just a few feet from the guard, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the cobblestones of Buckingham Palace. The crowd buzzed with excitement. most of them unaware that something bigger than a tourist prank was about to unfold. Josh had already taken his position across the square, camera rolling behind a pair of dark sunglasses. Mia whispered through the comms, confirming audio was clear. Everything was set. Brandon took a deep breath and stepped into character. It started simple: silly faces, puffed cheeks, crossed eyes, goofy poses. A few tourists nearby giggled, assuming he was just another wannabe influencer trying to get clicks. But Brandon wasn't there for giggles. He wanted to shatter the myth, to get the shot no one had ever captured. He waved a hand slowly in front of the guard's face. Nothing. No blink. No twitch. The soldier stared straight ahead, rifle tight against his shoulder, like a statue carved from stone. That only fired Brandon up more. He kicked things up a notch. Launching into an exaggerated dance, he spun, slid, and even attempted a moonwalk right at the guard's boots. Laughter began to ripple through the crowd, cameras rising, eyes locking onto him. But not the guard. His stare was locked ahead, untouched by chaos. That's when Brandon got bold. He reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out a cheap black party store mustache. He held it up dramatically, getting a laugh from the audience, then tiptoed up to the guard's rifle and gently stuck the mustache to the barrel. Gasps, a few nervous chuckles. One tourist pulled their child back. Everyone knew. This was different. Still no reaction. Brandon was in disbelief. He'd touched the weapon, he'd altered the image of a soldier, and the guard hadn't even blinked. To Brandon, that meant one thing: he could go further. He had to go further. The thrill, the ego, the camera all whispered the same thing: push it. So he did. Brandon slowly raised his hand toward the guard's bearskin hat, that iconic, towering symbol of tradition. His fingers barely brushed the edge of the fur. Then the air cracked like thunder. Step away from the King's Guard. The boot slammed the pavement. The rifle lifted. The crowd froze. And Brandon finally realized he had just gone too far. For a split second, everything went still. The guard's booming voice echoed off the palace walls, silencing the crowd like a clap of thunder. Brandon froze, his hand still halfway in the air, his breath caught in his throat. The rifle was now angled slightly upward, the polished barrel inches from his chest. His brain screamed at him to move, but his body wouldn't listen. Mia gasped into the mic. Josh stopped filming for the first time all day. Brandon had gotten what he wanted: a reaction. But it wasn't triumph he felt. It was fear. Before he could step back, two plainclothes officers broke through the crowd. They moved fast and with purpose, eyes locked on him. "Sir, step away now," one of them ordered, his voice low but firm. Brandon raised both hands slowly, as if trying to show he meant no harm, but the look in the officer's eyes said the joke was over. "You think this is funny?" the other officer asked, already reaching for his radio. "That's an active-duty soldier. You're lucky he didn't drop you on the spot." Brandon tried to smile, to charm his way out like he always had. "It was just a joke, man, a prank. Nothing serious." The taller cop didn't smile. Interfering with a member of the King's Guard isn't just a prank, it's a breach of public order. "You're coming with us." The crowd parted as the officers flanked Brandon, gripping his arms, not violently, but with enough force to remind him this wasn't optional. People were filming now, not laughing. Tourists shook their heads. One older woman muttered, "Disrespectful." A kid stared wide-eyed at the scene, clutching a toy guard figurine. Brandon's stomach dropped. The thrill was gone. His mouth went dry. He looked to Josh and Mia, but they couldn't help. No one could. As they escorted him toward a security vehicle parked just beyond the palace gates, Brandon looked back one last time. The guard had returned to his position, motionless again, the mustache still dangling absurdly from the barrel of his rifle. It waved gently in the breeze, a ridiculous reminder of just how far Brandon had gone, and just how much it was going to cost him. The hours that followed felt like a blur. Brandon sat in a dim, windowless room inside a small security outpost just off the palace grounds. The plastic chair beneath him was hard and cold. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry insects. Across the table, two officers took turns asking him questions about his intent, his equipment, his team, everything. Each time Brandon tried to explain, to brush it off as a joke, they cut him off with the same cold stare. "This isn't just a prank," one officer finally said. "This is a serious breach. That guard could have taken you down, and by protocol, he would have been within his rights." Brandon swallowed hard, his throat dry. The adrenaline that had carried him all morning was gone. Now there was only shame. He nodded along quietly as the officer went on to explain that touching a royal guard's weapon or uniform, interfering with their duty, or provoking them past a certain point wasn't just disrespectful. It could lead to criminal charges under UK law. He was lucky, they told him. No cuffs, no jail, just a 200-pound fine and a written warning. But the damage? That was just beginning. When he finally stepped out into the London air again, Josh and Mia were waiting for him. They didn't say much. They didn't have to. The energy had shifted. The excitement of filming was gone, replaced by a thick layer of regret. That night, Brandon edited the video anyway. He added dramatic music, slow-motion shots of the guards stepping forward, the shout that had rattled the entire courtyard. He uploaded it, hoping the views would dull the humiliation. It exploded, 10 million views in 48 hours. But instead of admiration, the comment section lit up with fury. Disrespectful idiot. He should have been arrested. That guard showed more restraint than I would have. Headlines followed. News stations covered the story. Even other content creators, people who'd once collaborated with Brandon, spoke out, calling his stunt reckless and embarrassing. Sponsors pulled out. His inbox flooded with hate. His subscriber count started to drop. Sitting alone days later, Brandon replayed the footage over and over, not to relive the moment, but to face it, to see the exact second when the joke stopped being funny, and realize that chasing fame had cost him everything. We'd love to hear what you think about this story. Do you believe Brandon deserved the backlash he got? Or was it all just an overreaction to a prank gone too far? Was the guard right to respond the way he did? Or should there be stricter rules to protect public figures like him from being harassed? These questions don't have easy answers, and that's why your opinion matters. Drop a comment below and tell us. If you were there that day, what would you have done? Have you ever seen a prank that went too far? And more importantly, where do you think the line is between entertainment and disrespect? Your insights help us grow this community of storytellers and thinkers. We read every comment, and we love hearing your different perspectives from around the world. So don't be shy, jump into the conversation. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you never miss another story that makes you think twice. Now it's your turn. Let's talk about it in the comments.